Hi, Biff. Hi, Ann. Hi, Mike.
You guys hear me?
Hi, guys. We hear you, Mike.
Okay.
up?
How you guys doing?
I can't figure this Zoom shit out.
Can you
Yeah,
hear me?
it's a little different. It's been a while since I've done it too. Let's see here.
Can you hear me?
I can
Yep.
hear you, Steve. Yeah.
Okay, good, good. What time's the game, Mike? It's 8 o'clock. Oh, no, it's 7 o'clock by you.
Yeah, I got my schedules all screwed up. It was actually yesterday. That's my wife's in charge of my schedule, so I don't have a game. It was 7:45 yesterday. Thank
Okay.
goodness.
Did
So I
they
don't have
win?
to rush. How you guys doing?
You
Everybody?
win?
So?
It's a crazy day, man. Crazy day, crazy 2 months. You know,
Yeah.
just
Crazy 2 months, crazy year, actually. I mean, since really the top. All right, so it looks like we've got a couple people here. We'll hop into it. So really, I wanted to kind of start with Bitcoin on the macro. I don't know if you guys saw me post this chart earlier or not, and if you guys understood what I'm talking about with my confluence here on why I think we are where we are in the market, or at least some things that kind of line up to at least align with my thoughts and my beliefs and my bias as to where we are. So did you guys see this chart earlier by chance that I posted?
yes.
So this is the BLX chart, which is basically Bitcoin's entire history, from the beginning back to 3 cents or whatever. So this is, as far as I know, the chart that has the most data on it from a macro standpoint, where you can actually see the entire cycle, of Bitcoin in its entirety. We've talked a lot about 5 waves off the lows, and some charts, altcoins being, corrective in structure from a macro standpoint, not creating, completing full cycles. And when I talk about that stuff, I'm talking about strictly from an Elliott wave standpoint, not necessarily, bullish or bearish, meaning, you've gone 10,000%, you've gone 1,000%, you've gone, 10x, 100x, whatever. It's more or less the cycles and how they work with the waves. So this is a good example, of an Elliott wave, high time frame. A super cycle is what it's called, which is basically an entire 5-wave structure, whether it be at an upward direction or a downward direction, doesn't really matter. It's just, just a 5-wave structure, to boil it down to, the most simple terms. Now, obviously that 5-wave structure can be broken down and can be, diced from a subwave standpoint into so many different things. But ultimately, this is my count on what I see from an Elliott wave standpoint, from a structure standpoint, of where we are with Bitcoin currently. And if I'm correct, which is still a big if, obviously the market can go, against us at any time, given the economic situation and, the scenario with the world, with inflation and everything else going on. Obviously, there's a lot of fear and a lot of things that can change the macro outlook of really any asset for the most part. But ultimately, this is what we have to go off of, and this is where we're at, and we have to base it off of, what we know from a structure standpoint, and how, at least from my opinion, I believe, Elliott wave is by far the most superior technical analysis tool there is, in conjunction with obviously other ones. But I think from a high time frame standpoint, this gives you the best picture of where we're at in the market. So when I posted this chart earlier, we've talked a lot about how to find 4 waves, 2 waves, that sort of thing based off of your fibs. So to find a 4-wave, we know, or we should know, hopefully you guys know, you take your fib retracement tool and you start from your 2 and you go to your top of your 3. And usually 4 waves retrace, 382 for a shallow and can wick into, 0.5, which is what we have based on this count. This is a month chart, obviously. So there's a lot of data inside of each one of these candles. But from a real high time frame standpoint, each one of these, this is a small ABC here, it wicks into 382. If I have obviously this counted correctly, same with this green count here, this is a little bit more of an extended 3, or from a time standpoint, it's more pronounced, I guess, but still the fibs line up. This one actually was more of a deeper correction and ended up almost correcting down to 0.5. And then here we are with our blue count, and we just now are wicking into our 382. So our 0.5 retracement is at 16,624, which in the history of Bitcoin, a 4-wave has never retraced quite down to 0.5. But as we do go, it is getting a little deeper. The returns are, the pumps are getting not as steep, I guess, and the corrections are starting to, maybe get a little deeper because of, your returns, and just the simple fact that now Bitcoin's up to, 22,000 compared to where it was down here at $42. So, looking at it like this, it wouldn't surprise me if we did get some sort of a nasty liquidation event where we did get a wick down to that 0.5 retracement level, which is obviously a lot deeper than I originally thought it was going to go, but it still would not affect the higher time frame structure of where we're at now. I personally don't think we're going to get that, but with the amount of margin that's out there, and with the amount of people with extreme money, like the insolvent crypto fund, who's that guy, 2 Arrows
Sale.
or whatever.
Oh, 3AC.
3 arrows.
3 Arrows, yeah. Things like that, where they're on the brink of being liquidated and insolvency. Those types of things obviously can cause extreme wicks or liquidation events, no different than, I guess, Luna, where obviously in the short term, it's a painful event, but in 3 months, 4 months, a year out, you zoom out and it's just a wick, really just no different than this COVID wick here. So that's, another thing that lines up with my bias, and, really why I think the way I think. Whereas a lot of people, a lot of Elliott Wave practitioners that I respect a lot, actually are viewing this entire structure as complete, and viewing this as basically a complete super cycle top. I personally just don't see it, but there are some people out there that do. And they're probably coupling that with, the economic crisis in the world that we're facing, and, maybe just fear in general that they don't realize is grasping them, and it's, a doom scenario, and they're looking at this in the worst case scenario, where I guess I'm more of an optimist versus a pessimist, which sometimes can be, a fault, but ultimately this is what I see, and this is my take. So I kind of wanted to start on the macro with you guys on that, and see if you guys have any questions, or want me to dive into anything in particular before we, dive into the Bitcoin micro in a lower time frame.
What is that 0.5 retracement level? What does that come out to?
16,624.
All right. Yeah, so below that's invalidation of the wave 4. We've never had one with below that, and it can't come into 1, right?
Correct. If it does,
Okay.
if it does come into one, then it's a diagonal, or there's something, completely different going on. I mean, we can't, I guess you would have to definitely entertain the fact that maybe the super cycle is finished and we are, basically heading down to, $500, which I don't think is possible, to be honest with you, but I'm not going to rule it out just because it is possible. I don't think it's likely. I guess I should use that terminology. But there's with Elliott wave, obviously it's subjective to a certain extent. I mean, there's other counts that could be made. This could be a 3 wave, and this could just be an A, B, C as an expanded flat. But to me, that just seems you're trying to force really a bias on it at some point, and to me, I don't, that makes it too complex. At some point you've got to try to keep it simple and not try to force some crazy narrative onto it. So, I mean, really, I guess if we did invalidate this, my first thought would be to go to the fact that, hey, our super cycle top is in, which to me would mean that our, the world economy is in a really, 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 really bad spot. So
Right.
if that happens, I think we're in trouble across the board, which we're teetering on that, anyway. But I ultimately think that we'll pull through it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like you mentioned before, we have no idea what's going to happen, right, with the world economy, but it clearly has an impact, as we've seen over the last several months, on not just Bitcoin but everything else and the correlation to it. When you say, okay, well, this is your primary thesis with that 5th wave, still due, something like a global recession would obviously, we don't know what's going to happen from that, but it could very well prevent us from doing that. In those scenarios, does it delay that 5th impulse up? Does it completely eliminate it? Do we just have to wait for the chart to play out to see what the new TA structure is? Like, I guess I'm confused on what bearing that would have, because it's not a black swan where it's coming out of nowhere,
Right.
But it's an external factor that's impacting the market and the structure of this based on what we're predicting now.
Yeah, if we do end up wicking into our 1 wave, I would have my 2 scenarios would be A, we are at cycle top, or B, this is some sort of a diagonal. I would probably lean more towards the diagonal part of it, which would actually end up putting us at a higher 5th wave. So this entire thing would be, an ABC, because your 4 wave as an ABC and a diagonal can overlap into your 1. So, I mean, and then from there, obviously, depending on how long the economy is in the recession for, more than likely we would blow out of that and then become impulsive. But if this is a cycle top, then you're talking $500, Bitcoin $500. I just don't think that's going to happen. If this is a diagonal, you could see Bitcoin at, probably 8,000-9,000, something like that, which is, obviously a far cry from 500. It's still an extremely nasty drop from here, and more than likely all the altcoins that we are looking at now will be dead if that does happen. But Bitcoin ultimately, and crypto ultimately, in my opinion, will survive. It just will change. To me, it'll change the micro structure. And when I say micro, I'm not talking about the chart or the hourly chart. In this scenario, I'm talking about really like the weekly chart, or even this chart. I mean, you're not gonna.
Yep.
You're gonna, this subwave here to me would just morph into something different. It's not going to completely change the entire structure from a macro super cycle standpoint.
Right. Yeah. Bitcoin at $500, just even just saying it out loud, like sounds ludicrous, but I guess anything is possible. We'd have to see so much institutional money that's come in, leave. And I mean, that would have to be a pretty horrific downturn, but I guess it's possible. Yeah. And the other part is, I don't think this is going to happen, but I mean, a lot of people say, this is what Bitcoin was created for, was for times like a recession where it's, deflationary and a hedge and all those type of things. So, I mean, who knows, maybe you go into a global recession and Bitcoin does what it was meant to do. Right. And it's kind of that, I don't know, deflationary hedge, although it's a risk asset. So I don't see why anyone would be putting money into it in that type of environment. But yeah,
Right.
It's crazy to me seeing like with all the stuff going on with the world economy right now. And it just feels like I mentioned in the Discord the other day about how, I've had pretty strong conviction all the way from, the top coming down, and that conviction's not shaken, but I've just noticed myself over the last, couple of weeks as Bitcoin's continued to drop and the FUD is really picking up around it with the macro events, that I felt that like a little bit of doubt and fear creeping in me. And part of me says, well, that's typical emotions towards the bottom. But it's hard to like balance that with, rational thinking.
Oh yeah. I mean, fear is real. I mean, if you look at this thing, I mean, it's scary. I mean, it really is. I mean, buying a nasty, bloody, disgusting, year drawn, and then you get caught up with the fear on Twitter and all the different gurus charting partially death, and I mean, it's it'll take hold for sure. But it's really, I mean, but if you objectively think about it, it's no different than when we're here, and everybody's crying and screaming, not crying, but euphorically screaming for 100K. The only difference is it's just an opposite emotion, but that emotion is
Right.
no different than the emotion we're feeling now. And we didn't get 100K, so I don't think we're going to get 10K. I don't think we're going to get 12K. I think to me, it's just no different. But it is scary. Just like when you're at the top, you don't want to sell. You don't want to sell at 60K if it's going to go to 100K, and you don't want to buy at 20K if it's going to go to 12K.
Yeah. Greed goes both ways, right? Like people who are, and granted, I think this group is really good about understanding where the lines are drawn. But I mean, you see a lot of people waiting, I'm going to be a huge buyer at whatever it might be, 6K, 9K. And, there's going to be a ton of people if what we think is going to happen, play out. There's going to be a lot of people who are waiting, in stables, right? Thinking that it's just going to go to the bottom and that's where they're going to buy. And, they end up getting left behind, right? And the same thing can happen at the top. It's going to go higher, so I don't want to sell it now, and you get screwed when you get caught with your pants down and it drops.
Yeah.
So
I think that times are a little different and some more fear is warranted because of what's happening in the world, and it might be the end of a super cycle. And so whereas at the end of the last bull run, it was easy to just throw money in because I felt we were guaranteed another run. Now, are we guaranteed another run? We don't know what will happen if this is the end of the super cycle. You see them great resetting the whole world. And this is where conspiratorial thinking may come in. If what you believe Bitcoin was created for, if they ultimately want us all on CBDCs that are fully traceable, and they want to crash the whole market, they can do that. What a time to do it at the end of the super cycle with all of these worldwide issues occurring. And so it is a little bit more scary to just throw money at it now than it was for me in 2018. And so, Mike, when you say $500 would be where you target if it was the end of the super cycle, is that based on precedent from like stock super cycles on how much the drawdown is, or where's that number coming from?
No, that came, I posted it on Twitter this morning. I mean, that I literally charted it out. If this is a 5-wave impulse down, I mean, that's where the 5-wave would take us, is around $500. Yeah, let's see, this is
I'm certainly a buyer at 500.
I just don't see how it recovers after that. Holy hell, going from 70K to 500 bucks. I mean, I guess it's going to happen like that at some point, but
Oh, what happened with the Amazon?
It wouldn't recover from
Price.
people like us. It might recover, when we're 70.
What if this
Yeah.
is the .com bust, like all, those big tech stocks completely collapsed, and then look what happened to them afterwards. Maybe that happens here, wipes out all of the old shit coins, and then we rise out.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. That's definitely possible here. I'll chart it real quick.
No, yeah, I'd want to, you don't have to do that for me. I did want to ask you one other thing, though. You're adamant that the super cycle is not over, but there are other EW experts who say it is over. You've poured over their thesis and you still say, no, I feel like we got this fifth wave coming up sometime in the next year or so.
Yeah. I mean, there's several of them that think that, and there's several of them that don't. The ones that do think that, there's a guy, CVO Trades. I don't know if you guys follow him or not on Twitter. Good dude, seems really smart, definitely knows EW. But he's looking at this as a 3, and then he's looking at this as a 5. And I don't know how he's got this entire count. I think he has a 1, 2. I think he's got this as a 3, and then this entire structure as a 5. Which, a couple different things that I don't like about this count is, first of all, this is a real short 3 on a super cycle, which to me, I don't even think the 3's in yet. I think we're still in the middle of the 3. But not only that, this 3 and then this 5. I mean, it just for me, it just doesn't fit the eye test. I just don't like the look of it. I don't like the count. If you dive into the micro on this fifth wave, I don't like the count either. I just don't like anything about it. Sometimes it has to pass the eye test too. I mean, to me, I've been looking at this stuff for long enough that, I mean, I can almost see what it's doing, really before I chart it. But I don't like that thesis. And then there's several other EW guys who, I highly respect as well, who agree with me. So, at some point for me, you obviously, I don't trust anybody else's TA. I respect everybody else's TA. And I can look at it and I can understand how somebody is coming up with their thoughts and their opinions, but I'm going to trust my gut and my TA over somebody else's. And yes, you guys might think I'm crazy, but I don't think we're going into a recession. I think we are in a fucked up situation. But you're not seeing job cuts. You're not seeing everything that's typical of a recession. What you're seeing is you're seeing an overextended stock market crash and correct. That's what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing.
Yeah, I agree too.
Now, obviously, we do have inflation, which is a serious situation. We do have some serious situations brewing. We've got the whole COVID thing with the supply chains. I mean, there's a lot of shit out there that definitely can cause that type of a collapse. I just don't think it's going to happen yet. I don't think we're there yet. I think we have, maybe, 3 to 5 years, maybe more. I guess I'm not sure from a time frame standpoint, but I don't see the doom and gloom that other people see personally. But I mean, I could be wrong. I'm no professional when it comes to, I'm not an economist. I just look at charts and feel fairly confident in what it is that I see, from a data standpoint on a chart. But it's my
I agree with you. It's I'll tell you one thing it's done for me, at least over the last 6 months or so, is it's caused me from going and looking at, just kind of blinders on to the crypto space, and, dabbling in some like equities and things like that. But it's caused me to kind of go out and try to understand more about like the macroeconomic factors that impact a lot of this stuff. And I think it's been a good learning experience, at least for me, to just try to understand some of these things that I had no fucking idea about before this. But based on what I'm reading out there and what I'm seeing, that's the biggest thing too, is you got to do your own research, I guess, and follow your own gut, because if you sit there following people on crypto Twitter and YouTube and all that, your emotions are going to be fucking a roller coaster. So that's one thing that this last few months has done for me, is it's caused me to go out and say, okay, well, I don't fully understand some of these macroeconomic factors that are really seem like they're impacting this. Go out and try to learn about them a little more. Man, I'm not an expert, but it's at least caused me to go out and find more information about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Mike, before you go into KDA, just quick, you're a super cycle wave 5. You have time wise, does it line up with the next peak after the next halving, or do you have it sometime in 2020? You have it 2023.
I just threw it up there. I honestly,
What are you thinking though?
That's just a holder. I was looking at, from a time frame standpoint, I think this wave here is going to be really nasty. Our 4 wave, I think, is probably going to be what we're all talking, but our macro 4 here, to me, is probably going to be what we're all thinking this is now. I think that we get up to minimum. So from an Elliott wave standpoint, you're talking minimum 88K for the next run, minimum 88K. I think that's crazy low. I think our projection is probably somewhere closer to 180 to 260, but at 88K, I will start to really, pay attention to what the chart looks like, and, probably de-risk and a few other things, but I will ultimately think that it's going to blow through there. And I think we're going to end up in the upper 100Ks for this 3. Time frame wise, if you look at all the other, bottoms here that I've kind of highlighted, for our 4 waves, from a structure standpoint, I think we're closer to here than we are, to here, but which makes sense, because obviously we've got a 5th wave, to go, but this is a 5 of 3, where this is, your 4, and then here's your 4 of 5. So I think we'll probably see something more like this in this next move up. But from a time standpoint, I think we probably see, oh boy, I still think we see over 100K this year, to be honest with you. I know that sounds crazy, but I really do. And then this wave here, I think, is going to be nasty. I think this 4 wave could take us down to 10K. And that will be what flushes, a lot of people out, a lot of Bitcoin maxis and, crypto believers that, will end up capitulating really at the bottom, who have probably been, long-term investors and long-term holders in this asset. I think that is where, a lot of those people get out of the space, and, flushes the space from those types of individuals, and then we'll have our final 5th wave up. So I would say probably within 8 to 10 years would be my guess as to when this 5 wave actually tops. So
Yeah, I was just, I misspoke. I didn't mean super cycle. I just meant the next new all-time high. And I'm just trying to
Oh, the three.
conceptualize it. So you think this year we're going above 100K? I asked that, well, I'm just trying to conceptualize, because I can see an all-time high in early 2023. I can see Russia, Ukraine resolving, inflation peaks, they loosen up a little bit, and exuberance comes back to the market towards the end of the year, 2023, XRP lawsuit gets settled. I can see that. But what gives me pause is the 4-year cycle seems to be spot on. Everyone was projecting a peak in November if the 4-year cycle was correct. And we peaked in November.
Sure.
High cycle nailed it. So to me, it's still that 4-year cycle, but it feels like we could have another exuberant run before 2025. So I was just getting your thoughts on that. But
Yeah. I haven't, honestly, I haven't done a whole lot of research on the 4-year cycle, but I've seen it, and who is it? Bob Lucas? Is that who the 4-year cycle guy is? Is that right?
I don't know who started or who coined it. I
He
just
was
know
the
it's
creator
the
of it.
halvening spurred run up every 4 years is the halvening. So I don't know who started it.
Yeah, I think Bob Lucas, if you go follow him on Twitter, I'm pretty sure him and like Peter Brandt are in the same little trading group. I'm pretty sure, or at least he's the guy that I first saw talking about it. And then Plan B, I guess, wasn't really a 4-year cycle guy, but I think Bob Lucas was the first guy really to bring light to the 4-year cycle. But also those guys also thought that this 4-year cycle would end in a parabolic blow off top too, which it didn't, but it still peaked in November. So, I mean, so far they're right. So what do they say? When do they say the bottom's gonna happen and then the next top's gonna be? They say end of 2023. Is that what they're thinking?
I don't know what they're saying, but the traditional 4-year cycle theorists think it's going to follow the same sort of path. We peaked in
So
November.
peaks every
But
4
what's throwing
years?
it all? But what's throwing it off is the 69K top. So people are thinking that was just an ABC correction that got a little too exuberant, and that really wasn't the top. So that's throwing people off also. So
Right.
I'm not sure. Yeah. Because if it's a 64K top was the top, we've been in a correction for a year. We're close to a bottom. Whales are buying. The pi cycle bottom indicator is real close. We're at the 200 week. The 300 week is at 16. We're like right there if 64K was the top. So what I was thinking is we're going to get a nice run up from like we had that 3K to 14K in the bear market for Bitcoin, crash back down to 38 or whatever. I think we'll get something like that. But I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I have no more questions for you today. I'm just trying to scalp little trades until I can find the bottom and then allocate more of my funds. As far as EW questions, I don't have any for you today. I'm just looking to scalp here and there and stack up on cash as much as I can.
Well, and that brings up a good point. I mean, that's really the way to do it right now, is to take the trades that you're confident in, and once you have money that you've made, to take it off the table. Because right now the market is obviously iffy. Everything about it is iffy. So, I mean, you've kind of got to adjust your risk management strategies based on where the market is, which is what I do. And, everybody should do that. I mean, your strategy should change based on where you are in the market. So, I mean, that's a good plan. That's a good idea. That's what I've been doing. You just take quick trades and, get in, get out, take the money while it's there, and, move on and be patient and wait for the next setup. Because, I mean, they, as you guys have seen, I mean, they come, and when they're there, I mean, they're obvious, for the most part. Obviously it can still go against you, but, that's the way to do it right now. Once we have confirmation of bottom and things are looking good, that's when you can start looking more at swing trades and, some longer term holds, maybe on some, more risky assets that, might end up really taking a beating if we do capitulate. So, I mean, that's the way to do it for sure. You guys have any other questions or want me to dive into anything in particular?
I got one last question for you. I know I've been asking a lot too. I'll let everyone else step in. Just from a, this is going to be probably pull a guess out of your ass, I guess. But when we see bottoms, it feels like typically we need to see like a liquidation and high volume, right? And you see a long wick and there's kind of a spring, and it's almost like a V-shaped reversal, and it goes. I don't know if that's the case with all bottoms, but how do you envision this one playing out? Do you see it building a base for a couple months, chopping around, or do you see a liquidation event potentially turning into a V reversal?
Yeah, I would certainly like to see a wick, like on a higher time frame. A nice long wick and a V reversal, that would definitely give me a hell of a lot of confidence. So I mean, that would be the ideal situation. No different than your COVID bottom here, or you can see this 4-wave here. Here, I'll take these off so we can
Just
see.
feels like we're not going to get that. I don't know.
I kind of agree.
intuition,
I think it's going to probably be the most pain you can imagine at this point, which is going to be, probably as similar to bottom to maybe this, where it just, I mean, it from a monthly standpoint, this looks like nothing, but if you're living in it and you're sitting there staring at the charts every day, I mean, this is a painful kind so
4 months of chopping around.
Yeah. So if I had to guess, it would, it kind of similar to this 4-wave too. That one moved a little quicker than this one, but I would anticipate, something like that.
Yep.
But then once you explode, I mean, for that 5th, historically at least, I mean, you go.
Yep.
So I would anticipate something like that, and that's why I'm saying I still think that we see at least a break of all-time high this year, if not 88K to 100K this year, because I still think we will have some crazy parabolic run up.
Not that circle is perfect science, but it lines up with a lot of, like, I'm seeing a lot of confluence with that, with what you're talking about, and other people that I respect in the space, I guess, too, and just seeing what their opinions are. And they've got like that July to November exit time frame where we're exiting that bubble, that base bubble, right, of building around a bottom.
Yeah.
And it kind of lines up with that end of 2020, end of 2022 time frame.
Yeah, I mean, that from a structure standpoint and just from an eye test standpoint, that's what would make the most sense, and cause the most pain, for people that maybe are still holding on and bought the top or whatever, retail investors who would likely end up getting depressed and saying, I'm done with this. I mean, there's been, unfortunately, a couple people from the Discord that have, I mean, I don't want to say it, but have capitulated. At least that's the way I view it. At the bottom, and they left the Discord, and obviously, I talked to them and messaged with them and understood their fears and their concerns and everything. But to me, it's just. No, it's a sentiment sign is the way I look at it.
Yeah.
No different than I had told my wife when I get a call from her brother, I would know the top is in. Her brother literally called me about Bitcoin at like literally the Pico top. I mean, it was
That's funny.
It was almost funny.
That is hilarious. That is actually hilarious. Oh my God.
I saw the opposite.
I said, I'm selling her. I said, I'm selling them out. Your brother just
I saw the opposite happen to a few people too. Where like actually just yesterday, my dad called me and asked, like, seeing everything on the news with Bitcoin crashing and all that, and was like, how you doing? You hanging in there? And so that's like the opposite, where it's like, all right, family's checking in on you.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the bottom.
Yeah. Like, did you lose all your money, son? Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's sad, it sucks, but I mean, it is the way,
right.
it's the way it is.
Yeah, it's the game. It's definitely the game. But
Yeah.
yeah, Jules, I was listening before and about
I didn't
talking
even,
about like the recession.
Breezy, I didn't know you were in here, man. For some reason, you're not popping up on my little screen down here. What's happening, buddy?
Yeah, I just came in quietly. Yeah, nothing much. How you doing?
I can't complain.
Yeah, I can't complain. So I've been euphoric watching these prices drop, and I think it's because we've been USDT for the past 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. So I'm
Yeah.
just pleased. I'm just waiting for the bottom now and ready to start the next phase of my life. But there was an interesting conversation that was going on before just about the recession. I just wanted to chime in. I agree with you that there are a lot of concerning things going on in the market at the moment. It seems to me that we are coming to the precipice of all these things sort of exploding and imploding. But I don't think it's going to be for another 3 to 5, maybe even more years. It seems to me that with these sorts of things, especially on the macro, it takes time to sort of capitulate and completely fall apart. And it seems, from what I've read anyway, they have the resources to kind of hold the economy up. And I think that's what's going to happen. And it seems to me as well that, how do I put this? The time at which this whole system is going to implode is when people are going to be the most euphoric, society-wide. So I don't think we're at that point yet. I think we're at a point where they have to make it look, well, it's market mechanics, but again, we can talk about conspiracy theories like Steve said. And to some extent, I do agree that there will be a one world government and one world currency eventually in the next 10 to 20 years. But they have to make it look for now like as if we are actually about to implode. This is what FUD is and what the bottom of the market always looks like. So I'm not thinking we're going to go to 10K or 12K. Like you said, it just seems to me like this is just another, it's the opposite of euphoria, I guess. It's just capitulation. So I'm going to be buying the bottom in the next couple of days, hopefully. And I hope you guys will join me too. And we can make some money.
Yes, sir, man. Yeah. I've started averaging in on a lot of my alt positions as well. And so now's the time to do that. I'm not interested in catching the absolute bottom. I just want to catch close to it and then enjoy the swing up.
100%. It's going to be a very interesting couple of months going into the end of the year, because a lot of my friends have capitulated already. A lot of people have said if it goes on like under 20, I'm completely finished with crypto. It's done. So that's just the average layman and how they're thinking, and that's the sentiment there. So we're definitely at the bottom, and I think what we're going to see is the economy and the crypto markets as a byproduct of that just swing back up, and people are going to be in complete disbelief. Then they're going to FOMO in again, and that nasty wick for the macro, so for the super cycle wave 4 is going to wipe everybody out, because a lot of people are going to buy at 200K and lose it all.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And then they'll hold at the top, and because they think it's going to go to 1 million, but it's not. At least not yet.
Yeah.
So for
I think it might even be worse than Go on, Stephen. My bad.
No, go ahead. Sorry, bro.
Oh no, I was going to say I think it's going to be worse than 2017, because in 2017 we went from 20K to 3K. I mean, going from 200K to 10K is going to be absolutely brutal.
Yeah, it's going to be really, 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 really nasty. I mean, you're talking just from a fib standpoint. If we get to, I don't know, say 170,000, I mean, 382 puts you at $2,200.
Oh my God.
So for the people who don't want to try and average in at the bottom and who want to catch the the macro 2 wave on the next impulse up, you want to see 5 waves off the bottom. That will confirm to you that the bottom is in. But on what time frame are we looking for that? So let's say the 5th wave of the next macro cycle will take us to 170. That the two wave, what time frame should we be looking on? Daily, weekly?
I look at 4 hour is where I would look in order to see a full 5 wave, but you need to couple that also with your resistance zones too. So once we get this final 5th wave down, it is possible that our 5's in now, right? I mean, it's possible that this was the 3 and this was a tiny little short 5, some sort of ending diagonal, and the 5 is in, and now we're impulsive up. But to me, it's not looking, I don't see that yet. So let's just assume, that this is, well, here. So your four wave resistance is in this box here, 382 to 0.5. So if we get rejected, somewhere up around here, and then we have our final 5 down, which puts in your 4 and your 5 and your end of the cycle, right? So what you would want to see at that point would first of all be, on a 3, 5, 15-minute time frame, you'd want to see a nano 5-wave structure creating a 1. So, I mean, you'd still want to see a micro 5-wave structure, which would create your 1 wave, and then your 2, and then your 3, then your 4, and then your 5. So from this point, you would basically want to impulse up through so say we bottom at 18,266. I would want us to impulse in a 5-wave structure on a higher time frame up through this 382 to 5. So at that point, it'd be 25,000 is where I would want to see a 5-wave structure impulse from, right? Off the low. And then from there, once we do top, that is where you need to see a 3-wave structure, down from 618 to 786. And then you want to see that hold. And then technically speaking, once you hold that 786 to 618, and then you break that top, that's when you can confidently say the bottom is in.
Yeah, it sounds good to me. But when I look in 2018, when we were around 10, 11,000 for a long time, I feel like I can count 5 waves off of what appears to be a bottom many times.
You talking about here?
No, I'm talking about in 2018. And during the bear market in 2018, I feel like I can count 5-wave impulses off what appears to be the low numerous times. But we just kept going.
You might be able to.
Right. So
those are probably C waves.
Okay, so it's just me not knowing.
So you're talking about this right here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah. I feel like you can see a lot of 5 wave that what might be off the low.
Well, let's just take this as an example. This already failed because it didn't hold 618. It didn't hold 618 or 786, right? So if you did have this as a 5, which it could be a C of some sort, right? Let's just say this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. You got to draw your fibs from there. you still want, you need this zone to hold 618 to 786. Once it wicks under 786, I mean, technically speaking, this still could have been a two-way, right? Because it did not cross below the origin of where your one started.
Right. So that could have been a 1-2, and everyone's thinking, all right, we're going back to the moon, and you
Yep.
want to get in on that too. So
Yep.
it's like, that's what, I don't want to allocate all my funds in case we keep going lower. So I'm just trying to save some for that macro 2 wave before the next impulse.
So if this would have broken above the ending point of this one, which that would be a 1-2, that's when you could say confidently that structure is complete. So from here, it retraced 618 on the nose. So this is some sort of I mean, I'd have to go look and figure out what the hell this thing is, but let's see. Yeah, hell, I can't figure out what that
Yeah,
is.
I don't want you to get caught in
Yeah.
the weeds. It just seems
Yeah.
like you'll be able to tell based on the reactions at the fib levels to confirm or increase the chances that it is the actual bottom. It's usually
Yeah,
confirmation.
I mean,
of the fib.
ultimately, like I said, I mean, this would have raised a flag no matter what, just because it did, retrace below that 786. And then once it got rejected at 618, you could know something's up. And plus, at that point, that's a pretty nasty rejection at 618 too. So for me, I mean, I probably would have bought here and then held and had a stop loss. And the key also is to as you go up, if you have trailing stops as well. I mean, if you think the bottom's in here, you might be a little looser with your stops. You might put your stop originally right here. Because if you breach that, then clearly that's a break in structure. And then as you go up, if you think this is another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can count a 5-wave structure out of this, you might move your stop to your 2 in case it breaks below that. So, I mean, you'll have trailing stops on the way up. That way, if you are trying to catch that first 2 wave, because it could just be some sort of a correction still. So if you are trying to catch that first 2 wave, because that is your highest risk, but your biggest reward, obviously short of, catching the absolute bottom, because you still don't technically know that that the bottom's in until you actually break the top of the ending point of your one. So if you're wanting to be conservative and you're wanting to make sure, that you're not going to get caught with your pants down, then you're going to have to wait for some sort of structure like this, which means, you're going to have to watch it go from, in this scenario, 18,000 all the way up to 28,000 without fearing, without feeling FOMO, without, your emotions getting involved. Watch this ABC down, watch it hold 618, and then watch it go back up, and break the top of your one wave.
Yeah, I want to scalp that whole way, but I don't want to use most of my HODL money until like we can be sure this super cycle isn't over,
Sure.
So I'll be scalping the way up and then do the HODL bags another time.
Well, and then another thing you can do too is if we do get, even if we get this, right, you bottom here, you just put your stop right below where you think, the origin of one is. So if you think this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And you buy this too, you put your stop right under here.
Yeah, gotcha.
So if this structure breaks, then something's going on.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So you can just follow that process all the way up, as you trade. And then you can, you could sell here, you take your scalp there, and then wait for your ABC. And then once you get, into your 618 and you see a nano 5, on the 5-minute chart, whatever, and then you buy your 2, then you put your stop right underneath there. Because if that breaks, then there's something else going on with the structure.
Gotcha. Looks good. Looks good.
But ultimately, I mean, what I see right now on this guy is, I mean, this just looks like an expanded flat currently until proven otherwise. So this just looks like it, and this would be a nice, it'd be a perfect 4-wave. I mean, it really would. If we get this structure, it'd be a perfect 4-wave and would line up perfectly for a 5-wave down. And at that point, to me, I would be confident as hell the bottom would be in. I mean, I'm already starting to average into some positions just because I'm confident as it is. And I'm okay with, losing a little bit and being underwater for a little bit if I have to be. I'm not doing that on the Shrimpy account because it's a little different because I'm trading with other people's money, which is a whole nother scenario within itself. But for my personal account, I have no issues with being underwater, because I trust myself and I know what I'm doing and I understand what I'm seeing and I know where my invalidation points are. And, I'm just confident from a risk management standpoint in what I'm doing. So, if we did get this 4 and we go down, I mean, I'm likely going all in at that 5. Once I see 5 down, I'm going all in. I mean, I don't even care at that point. But that's me.
Sound of that, baby. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, man. I'm with you on that.
You guys got any questions? Want me to go over anything in particular or any particular alts?
Could you look at MTRG, please?
Yeah, funny, I had that up.
Yeah.
What a pump today on that.
I was actually looking at this before we got on the Zoom, trying to figure out all the different possible scenarios, which is basically everything I've got on the chart so far. These structures are, to me, these are the most risky structures, but at the same time, they have the best reward. I mean, there's not a lot of data here, obviously, to chart. What we do have is we have a clear 3-wave here. This is it looks like a 5-wave with an extended 5th wave. And then we have this funky looking structure here, which to me looks like an ABC and then a 1-2. The only problem with this 2-wave is it breached the origin of the 1, but it is an illiquid asset on, an altcoin. So it is possible that this is a 1-2, but more than likely it's probably an ABC, which would end up looking, you got your A, your B, you'd have your C, which would probably be an A wave, and then you would have, a B down, and then a larger C up. So basically what I'm seeing, this structure will more than likely turn into, some sort of either a diagonal, which would be, this white 1, 2, 3, but it's going to move ultimately in 3-wave structures. So then you would have another 3 down and then another 3 up, so forth and so on. And they would just, fit like a gigantic puzzle with, 3-wave structures all the way up to your 5th wave. But MTRG, I think either way is definitely an asset that I will be buying on this next correction whenever we do get it. So if this is an ABC, this little box, sorry guys, this Zoom box is in my way here. So I would likely, this looks like it could top on a C really at any point. So what I would be looking for once it does is a 3-wave structure down. And then I think it will probably end up, coming to, somewhere once it corrects down, it'll probably end up correcting again around $3 to $4, something like that. So that's what I am looking for at this point, because this is something that I definitely am going to be buying, since I ended up getting too greedy and wanted lower and missed the bottom. So I will be buying on this next correction.
Got
No
it. Thanks.
revenge trading.
No revenge trading.
Sorry, Ann.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Unless you're
Mike, I know-
okay with sitting underwater for a while, then you can revenge trade all you want. And does that make sense? Or did you have another question?
It does. No, it does. Thank you.
Yeah, meter looks good. Cadena was pumpy. Good call on the Solana. HTR, I was surprised didn't get a better pump today.
Oops, I'm in the wrong chart. There's KDA right there. Yeah, KDA, surprised actually how well that's held up so far. During the entire collapse of Bitcoin and that nasty blood, KDA held up pretty well in comparison. Actually, a lot of the alts have so far, but to me, that's kind of scary.
Yeah, a newbie, and I don't want to take much more time. A newbie sentiment is when the Bitcoin dominance goes down as Bitcoin is crashing, that's a signal that total 3 is going to get a nice run up. That's what I think a lot of people are thinking, because it is weird to see the alts holding up okay during Bitcoin, some of them anyway, during Bitcoin capitulation.
Yeah, it is. It's not something I would have expected. I mean, I would have Trios, for example, I would have. Let's pull it up.
Stubborn bastard. Won't move.
Yeah, I mean,
especially Trios as
still
well.
right up against it's up against 4-wave resistance right now. Again, I mean, it's still clearly a 3-wave structure right now. I mean, I still anticipate that thing to get rejected, but who knows? I mean, I'm a buyer here for sure on Trios.
What's that level? 70 cents? I can't see.
No, buck 90 99. I've got it at 94.8. 74 cents is this
$7.
extreme capitulation scenario, which based on how well it's holding up right now. I mean, I don't know if we're going to get there or not. Let's see what percent drop is that? That's another.
We're at 96% on Trios already. 96, I think, which is the highest. HTR is 95% down.
Oh yeah,
The big layer ones are like 90 only.
Yeah.
From the all-time highs, I mean.
Yeah, we're
ETH
at
corrected 95%.
96%. Yep.
Right. ETH corrected 95% last bull run. So are we wrong to believe that Solana won't correct 95%? You know, like that HTR won't correct 97, 98. It still seems there's another leg down.
Yeah, well,
like you've been saying.
Yeah, where did that go? Oh man, Sol's at 35 now, huh?
Good call.
Yeah, that's running. That's a real deep 4-wave. As of right now, that's a 618. I mean, let's see how deep. What did the 2 go? 2 looks pretty deep also. Yeah, you don't see that very often. 2's at 618, and right now 4's at 618 as well. So that could be, it may. Let me throw the fibs on this, because it could be a simple scenario. Well, shit. I mean, yeah. See that this would be a good example of something that doesn't have a defined 3 and 4 wave. So your 618 is right here, which I guess technically we did get a bounce at 618. It's just not very defined. So I mean, that could be the bottom for Sol. Actually, right there, and this could be a 1-2. So Sol bottom could be in. I mean, it's very, very possible. That coupled with the fact that we've already done a 618 retracement from the 2 wave. I mean, those are signs that it's very possible that Solana does not get a lower low. That would be, I mean, it's defined to a certain extent, but it's not as that four wave there is a quick and fast four wave. It's not a frustrating, painful, nasty, disgusting four wave that we've been used to, but at the same time, we were capitulating. So that would be a good example of, like I said, an undefined 4 and 5 wave. So I'd be happy as hell if Solana's bottom was in, because I've been buying Solana ever since it got down to 27 cents. So I'll take it.
Nice.
But let's see, I guess your question, which I don't know if it was a question, it was more of a statement. So from the top, and I think I might be the only person on this planet right now that doesn't have this as a completed 5-way structure. I mean, that shit, man, that's still 90%.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's
what I'm saying. If the cycle is not over, great. We got 90% correction, big money, we're getting in. But if it is over, we're probably going lower than 90%, more than 90%,
Yeah. Yeah, this is the, I mean, this is the zone between, 18 to 28 that I was thinking it would bottom in. And it's, as of right now, it's wicked down in there. But the good news is I would still imagine that we're going to accumulate down here for a little while. So we should develop some sort of a range. So if you're a range trader, really the next month or two, as long as we don't have that V reversal, you could have some really good gains, trading a range, which I would imagine you're probably going to develop some sort of a range.
Mike, could we do the Trias macro? I know I've been bothering you about that for the past 5 months, but can we just take a quick look at it? Let's see what see what it's saying, because you did explain that there was different certain stipulations in place for it, and certain conditions of it maybe being corrected or being impulsive. So yeah, just be interested to see what that.
Yeah, so I think I was trying to explain, the whole corrective nature and the whole corrective structure, just like HTR. I mean, the deeper this 2 goes, I mean, we are right at 786. I mean, we literally just have wicked right below 786. So that initially just raises a flag, just right off the bat. It's like, okay, we wick under 786. I have to be cautious that, that it's not impulsive and this isn't a typical 2-wave. Clearly it still could be, because we have not breached the low. So we've not wicked into or closed below the origin of where this 1-wave started, right? So now, ultimately, the way you can look at this is in 2 different ways. You can look at it as a 1 and a WXY with your 2 in. Let's just assume the bottom's in here.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to have a 3, a 4, and a 5, taking us up to, and if this is a very, very low target, if this is indeed impulsive. So 250 to $500 basically, if this is impulsive, is where I would be looking at. I would sell, I mean, certainly I would sell 100% of my position at the 3-wave, no matter what. And then I would buy, an ABC correction for your 4, with stops, obviously understanding that, it could be the end of the cycle. And then hopefully that I could ride this thing back up as a 5th wave. So that's option 1. Option 2 is that this is just a large, ignore the white 3, 4, 5, that this is just a large corrective structure, still, which if you go look at the history of a lot of altcoins, a lot of them are just corrective structures. A lot of them, storage, for example, is one. ADA could turn out to be one if it doesn't complete its 5th wave. ADA right now, let's see, where's my ADA? So really ADA, same thing. I mean, if you look at Trios right now, right, and compare it to ADA, I mean, I guess that's probably not a good example, actually. Never mind, that structure is not anything like it. But if we do not get this final fifth wave, then all this thing was a corrective structure of some sort. I mean, this could go, this could be an A. This could be an A, and you could still have a real nice B, and then you could have your C wave down, and then you've got a C, which would invalidate, the potential of this 5. So, ultimately, this thing's either still just a large corrective structure, which you can still get a shit ton of gains out of. I mean, even if this thing is a large corrective structure and you're at $1.42 and you get in now and, it goes up to $30, I mean, that's a 2,100%. So, I mean, there's plenty of money to be made, regardless of it being macro bullish from an EW standpoint or just a corrective structure. It doesn't really matter. It's just understanding what that structure looks like and the potential scenarios that are at play, and given the understanding that this structure is a possibility, I mean, it would be smart of you to start de-risking here at C.
Yeah, for sure. I guess I'm just thinking, I'm just looking for, I guess, the most macro bullish setups, and it seems to me it's between Trias and KDA at the moment, just in terms of looking at the price action. But I guess a lot of these things are also dependent on, because they're smaller sort of coins. I mean, they're fundamental. So a lot of these coins actually have to sort of fulfill the promise of what they were created to do, and obviously garner products and customers and whatnot and partnerships. So yeah, I guess I'm just going to be watching these projects quite closely. But it seems to me KDA is another strong one for sure. From the TA perspective and also from a fundamental perspective as well. So those are the two I'm going to be monitoring. Quick question as well. For KDA, so for KDA, even if it goes to say, because I think you had one bearish chart which went to something like 70 cents or something like that. If it goes that low, is it more likely that that's corrected as well?
This one?
Yeah.
This would be if this is a double zigzag. KDA charts kind of got me a little baffled with this structure here. It's a little confusing to me as of right now. But basically, if this is a double zigzag, that would be my target. So a WXY, this would be a double 3, which basically means you've got 2 zigzag corrections pieced together with any type of corrective structure. So, a WXY is, a double 3, and a WXYXZ is a triple correction, basically. So it's just they're pieced together with some sort of a corrective structure in the middle. So this would happen in this. You could have a WXY, you could have a zigzag here, you could have a triangle here, which is what we have, and then you could have a flat here. You could have a zigzag here, you could have a flat here, and then you could have another zigzag here. So this would be worst case scenario if this is a WXY double zigzag.
I guess that's not really what it's looking like right now. I mean, I saw your other KDA chart just a second ago. It seems to me that it's more likely that 110 will be where we end up if we do get when we do get a fifth wave down for BTC, right?
Yeah, I mean it's holding. I mean, KDA is one of those ones that's holding real nice compared to what Bitcoin's been doing over the past 2 weeks. I mean, clearly it's down, but I mean it didn't break its low.
That is
I
a
mean, it
very,
still
very,
hasn't
very
even made a
pertinent
lower
point.
low, given
Yeah. Hmm.
which is why it's got me baffled. You know, I was it doesn't meet the eye test for me right now. The way it sits, it doesn't meet the eye test, and I'm not 100% comfortable in understanding, you know, where it's at and exactly what it's doing. You know, which is okay. I mean, if you know that, then then you just wait and patiently wait till something does reveal itself. You know,
Yeah.
if this thing all of a sudden starts to, correct down and it gives me a little 3-wave and then it impulses up, that would at least give me some sort of idea of what this structure could be and what this structure might be morphing into, whether it be, another corrective structure or whether it be an impulse. It will start to give me a little more confidence as to what the hell's going on.
I see. Yeah, this is a lot to take in. It's like nearly 3 o'clock. It's just, yeah.
You need to get some sleep, man.
Okay, I understand where we are. Yeah, no, crypto never sleeps, so I can never sleep.
Never
That's where I am
sleep,
right
baby.
now.
That's it.
Hey, Mike, I got one quick question for you on Trias.
Yep.
Just going back to that, I know. So that's one that I'm super bullish on. I've got a lot of my eggs going in that basket. The corrective structure piece is good to know, because that was my first thought is, when we ride this wave up, de-risking around $30, is probably going to be the play. You'll let the charts dictate, what your primary thesis is going to be, but just say we play out the way that this is looking right now. We hit your target of about 95 cents, and we, impulse up. What does your gut tell you in terms of this being a corrective structure versus this being a part of, being a 3-wave on the way up?
That is a great question that my bank account is also interested in as well. So Mike, take it away, please.
Yeah. Considering my personal bias of where I think Bitcoin's going, I think we see 250 still. But
and the crowd cheers.
but I'm not gonna let my personal bias blind me,
right?
Into this possibility. So I mean, no matter what.
Nah, hey, yo, Mike, I'm Stevie Wonder right now. I'm blinded. 250 years.
But no matter what, I mean, I will de-risk, at a 5-wave structure here at least. And if I'm wrong and I have to buy back in, once it breaks the top again, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that's what's tough about this is it's a C wave, so it could be a 5-wave structure, right? It could be receiving going up there, which makes that difficult. I'm curious. You're the risk management guru. When you say de-risk, I'm sure it depends on the scenario. Do you typically have like a percentage in this type of situation that you de-risk? Like you'll de-risk 50%, you'll take your profits off the table. What's your de-risking strategy?
Yeah, so no matter what, I mean, this whole structure, just assuming obviously this is what we get, that's a 5-wave. I always, no matter what, I sell 3s always.
Right.
I don't care.
Yep.
I don't care. I sell 3s. I take my money, I put it in my pocket, and I don't care. I walk away with at least knowing that I made my initial investment back plus, some extra money. So I will ultimately on a higher time frame from a swing trade standpoint, because this is a swing trade, I will take profits here and here.
Yep.
I will be 100% out here, no matter what, on a 5. And then, once we get a correction, which we will, it might be up here at 70. It might be, I'm not going to catch the top. But once we get a correction, then I will, buy back on a 3-wave structure down.
Yep.
And then at that point, obviously I'll have tighter stops, and I'll put trailing stops as we go based on Elliott wave, and based on invalidations of Elliott wave on a higher time frame, not on a lower time frame, but on a higher time frame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
On a swing trade, you want to have them on a higher time frame. So basically, what I mean by that is, if you're swing trading and you buy, you buy here, whatever, you buy somewhere on this one wave, right? You put your stop underneath that one wave, and you leave it there until this wave starts to progress, and then once you break above your your one, then you move it to the bottom of your two, or below the bottom of your two.
Yep.
You come back down, then obviously that structure gets invalidated, and you just keep doing that as you go up.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with it's just going to depend on what Bitcoin does, right, and how it runs up. Because if Bitcoin's running up to what we're hoping for, around 200K, something like that, I'd just be shocked if Trias bails out at $30, and is a corrective structure. Who the hell knows? But I can't see that happening the way this thing moves.
Yeah, I agree.
The limited supply.
Yeah, no, it won't. if
literally.
So
if Bitcoin's at 200K, Trias will be at 1,000. How you like that, Breezy?
Oh my God.
I think I'm having a heart attack. Give me a second.
Go to bed now.
But yeah,
not gonna be able to.
I don't know. I'll sleep till next week. But yeah, no, guys. Because I guess that's what I was thinking. I was thinking if BTC does its thing and Trias actually delivers with its L1 solution, which isn't particularly it's not too special. I mean, they solved the blockchain trilemma, but there are better technologies out for sure. But in this cycle, if they just literally deliver what they're doing with what they've promised that they'll do, because it's got a really low supply and it's a really low market cap, it could go 1,000 plus, I think, on like a great sort of cycle. So we'll see what happens. But I think what you said about risk management is pertinent at this point. It's very important that you risk, like you de-risk at the right places, because this market likes to do what everyone doesn't want it to do. So it seems to me I will be de-risking at the C and then buying back, because I guess if you de-risk at the C, you'll still get to buy back in lower anyway, so you still get more bang for your buck. So it's I guess that's the plan at the moment.
Yeah. And I just pulled up the fibs here. This will be the last thing, and then we're running quite long here. So I just threw the fibs on this just for fun, Breezy, for you. So if we do get a typical 3-wave, that would take you to $900. Just a typical 16183.
That is so funny.
Yeah,
that's crazy. That is absolutely nuts.
But I don't want to be a moon boy, so I don't put it that high.
All right, wait.
I'm gonna forget you even said that.
Yeah, I won't.
No promises or guarantees.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think 250 is a great place. Yeah, go on, my bad.
No, sorry, Breezy. I was just gonna say that the thing with Trias too is just like the X factor for me is just a limited supply, man. 10 million coins is it's gonna run. If BTC runs, it's so scarce. You're gonna see it run. But I'm biased. That's my bias.
Yep, for sure, man.
You converted me. I haven't
Jules,
been on the hype train, but I think you converted me. I'm scalping 15 little things, talking $1,000. Okay,
all you need is $100 bag, and you're good to go.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, imagine having 40K Trias, 1,000. Oh my god, yeah, that would be absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, and there's gonna be I think what I like about this is that there's gonna be so many opportunities to trade it on the way up as well. It's like there's no way one doesn't end up with more Trias than he started, or he or she started with. It's gonna be insane, actually. I think having this sort of map for the next couple of months to a year is going to be incredible, absolutely incredible.
Yeah, no, for sure. Learning basic Elliott wave structure is probably the most important thing I've ever done from my financial standpoint. And, being able to really control my financial destiny. I mean, that's by far the most important thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
I mean, it is worth learning, and it's worth taking the time, and you're going to lose. You're going to, you're not going to win every trade, but every single time you do lose, the key is to figure out why and to understand what you did wrong, to dissect the shit out of that thing,
Yeah.
reverse engineer it, and then learn from it and just keep moving on. I mean, that is by far the most important, besides obviously proper risk management, which you'll learn once you start losing your ass. Those are the two most important things that I learned personally in my trading journey. So if I could stress anything besides risk management, which that will come once you lose, is learning basic LA wave structure and not giving up on it either.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Mike, thanks for being so generous with your time.
Yeah.
We're going
Yeah.
extra tonight.
Yeah. Well, we had to make up for the last couple of weeks. It's been 3 weeks since we've done this. So
Yeah, literally.
Awesome.
all right,
These are
guys.
super
Great.
helpful.
It's been real
They're
great.
great.
All right.
Yeah, it's been a great
Have a good
one.
night. Breezy, get to
Peace,
bed.
everybody. See you on the next one. Yeah, man.
I'm not going to sleep. That $1,000 try, so I'm not
You ain't sleeping now.
Yes, traffic now, aren't you?
Late, everybody.
See you guys.
Later.
Bye.
Take care.
Thanks, Mike. See you, everyone.
Yeah.